So the second song's going to be a song y'all know, and it's called "Put a Little Love in Your Heart."
Oh, yeah.
So it was written by Jackie DeShannon and her brother and a friend. But when I was just looking around I wanted to find out more about the song. I was like, it's a song in the 60s. It's just, kind of hippie days and put a little love in your heart. And I was like, I wonder if someone said that and inspired her, but I don't know if anybody knows anything about the song, let me know. But I did find a recording of Al Green and Annie Lennox singing it.
Oh, wow.
So you're going to have to check YouTube. And not only that, it's like the closing song in the movie Scrooged.
Really?
Yes. But I mean, come on, Annie Lennox and Al Green. So just jump in when you know it. Think of your fellow man, lend him a helping hand, put a little love in your heart. You see it's getting late, oh please don't hesitate, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see. Another day goes by and still the children cry, put a little love in your heart. Want the world to know we won't let hatred grow, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for me and you. Just wait and see. Put a little love in your heart, put a little love in your heart every day, put a little love in your heart, put a little love in your heart. Take a good look around, and if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide kindness will be your guide, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for me and you. Just wait and see. Put a little love in your heart. Ooh, put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. One more time. Put a little love in your heart. Ooh, put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. Maybe I'll just leave this here. I can use it later. So I wanted to talk about connections. And what I wanted to talk about was the connection between your inner and your outer life. So you meditate, you do some readings, you take a walk in the woods, you set up your day, you're all calm, you're all happy. And then your day starts calling you. You start doing your chores, you start taking care of your family, you start taking care of things for your job, and suddenly you get into a different space. So, have you lost your connection? Maybe you have, and maybe you haven't. Maybe you just think you have because your perspective has shifted. So that's really what I wanted to talk today about. So what do you do in your day to shift your perspective back? Do you sit and have a cup of tea? Do you pull out something to read just for fun or for inspiration? Do you talk with a friend? Do you just sit quietly? Or do you not? Do you just go about whatever it is you have to do? Because once your day gets rolling, You know, there's people and animals to be fed. There's things that you need to do, and you just don't think about that. And it's like it occurred to me, why do we think of our inner life and our spiritual life and our daily life as separate things? I mean, you are the one, right, in this space doing all these things. You're bringing your inner self and your outer self with you wherever you go. So where did we get this idea that it's separate and that the world is distracting us and taking us away from our center and our heart? It's only the way we're looking at it that's taking us away. So, I mean, something so easy to say, just switch your perspective back, not so easy maybe to do. But it's all about perspective. It's all about just how you see it. And what is it in our day that is so important that it's pulling us away from our heart? And what is it to each one of us that really is the most important? So that's not a question that I'm answering. That's your own question. What is the most important thing to you? So when I think of that, I think the most important thing to me is that I have some connection to my heart, that I have some connection to the light within, so that when I walk in the world and I walk in my life, I bring this light and this love with me in what I do. Whether I know it or not is not really the point. That's just a matter of my perspective of how I see it. Because whoever you are, you're bringing that with you. You brought it here with you this morning. You're taking it to the grocery store later. It's you. So I have these notes here because I have a bunch of quotes that I wanted to read. One of these was just something I found on the internet. It's funny how when you start thinking about something, I've been thinking about this topic and how I would talk about it for weeks. And just like, I get newsletters and little connections and things that come to me in my emails, or people start talking to me. And one of the emails that I get is from Michael Beckwith, and they're like moments of inspiration from the Agape Center. So one of the things that he said was, use your power. Practice on a daily basis the power of your word, and only allow to flow out of your mouth that which you want to experience. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be cool? If everything I said just didn't just like come out, but it was like, yeah, that's what I want to live. That's what I want to experience. So I thought, yeah, being aware of what I say, this is a good way to practice that and connect that. And one of the greatest ways to being aware of what you say is to stop before you say it. And one of the best ways to stop before you say it is to listen, which in our Western society is a skill that we have really lost. And you hear Native American speakers talk a lot about speaking with elders and how it's not your job, but it's with respect. You just sit and listen until they're done. You don't wait to put what you want to say in, you just wait until they're finished. And they could take a lot of pauses, and this could take a long time. And so it'd be a lot different than the way we normally have conversation. And then when they're done, then you ask a question or you speak. And I thought, ooh, then you're really choosing what you're saying. It's really important to you because it's not like you were thinking about it in the middle of their talking. You were really listening. Another inspiration came to me, and this is from a man who owns the gym I used to work out in Key West. It's one of those gyms where you have a trainer. So I had a trainer, a strength trainer, and I was so into this. I went twice a week, and the guy that ran the gym, he's into metal rock, and he's into mosh pits and all this stuff. But lately on Facebook, he's been printing healthy recipes, and he's been just printing like these inspirational thoughts. And this guy is like so cool. He's so deep. I never even knew all this time I was, doing lunges, next to him in the gym. He was talking about the spotlight effect. So one of the things that happens to us when we're out in the world and that disconnects us from our inner self is that we're really worried about how we appear to other people, how we appear in a situation. And sometimes it paralyzes us. It makes us afraid to do what we want to do, or it censors how we are. And he called this the spotlight effect. Is you think the spotlight's on you, and that how people are thinking about you and how people are treating you and how you're appearing to people is that important. But the truth is we all have the spotlight effect, and that they're not thinking that much about you because they're thinking the same thing. The spotlight's on them. So it's like a misguided spotlight effect. So you can take the spotlight off of you because everybody's got a spotlight. However, we do interact with people, and how people respond to us and how they feel about us is important to us. I mean, we want to be loved. We want to love. We want to communicate. We want to be understood. So it's not to belittle our interaction with other people. It's just to say that it's not about their opinion of us. It's about our interaction with them. It's not about society's imposed perception of us. It's about our perception, our ability to communicate and to be a part of the thread of our community and our relationships. Because community is really what we're talking about when we talk about relationships. So you have a relationship to yourself, and everything else is a relationship to your community that you are a part of. This community here, this town, this country, this world, this global community. As the Dalai Lama says, we are a global community. And it's even more obvious now that we can actually see each other and talk to each other. So how do you want to interact? What's the most important thing? Makes you think. So we have this life we're living. We the dishes need to be washed. The kids need to be fed. The dog needs to be walked. And there's a Buddhist saying that I'm sure you've all heard that says, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So I was thinking about this, and one of my inspirational emails that I get is from a man named Nathan Aswell. He's a Canadian musician, and he does a lot of chanting, and he does this morning musings. He puts out about once a week that has a chant and a lovely meditation. His name's Nathan Aswell. And lo and behold, his chant was chop wood, chop wood, carry water. Chop wood, carry water. Chop wood, carry water. Bring love into this every day. Chop wood, carry water. Bring this every day. Anything and everything, make it all an offering. Anything and everything, make it all an offering. Earthly life is spiritual, makes it so enjoyable. Earthly life is spiritual, makes it so enjoyable. You could do this with me. Chop wood, carry water. Chop wood, carry water. Bring love into the everyday. Bring love into the everyday. Chop wood, carry water. So that was his chant this week, which I fell in love with, and I'll have to tell him I brought it to you. And he was talking about what made him think of that, and what made him think of that was this midweek faith lift that a woman, her name is Reverend Kathy Ann Lewis. She was the Reverend at CSL Seattle, and she also has a weekly post that she was putting up, and she was talking about this, which led to his chant. So I got curious, and I checked out Reverend Kathy Ann Lewis, who's like a really fun speaker. She's great. And this is what she had to say. She said, before a divine revelation, you do your chores. After a miracle, after an answered prayer, you do your chores. To be spiritual does not mean that you're excused or not a part of earthly life. It just makes earthly life so much more enjoyable. What we do as a human, but we do it with love. So if you take your spiritual life into your everyday chores, obligations, and activities, they become transcendent. Don't you love that idea? Yeah. Washing the dishes could be transcendent. Mm. It's also pleasurable because you show up with love. So chop wood, carry water, pay the bills, do the taxes, talk to the people you need to talk to, send messages to your relatives, all in the name of love. And then she offered up these 3 principles. And number 1 was, what is inside of you is more important than what is outside of you. This is a matter of perspective, not a matter of things. And she was paraphrasing Emerson, which I think this is one of those things where he didn't actually say this, but it's attributed to him. And his quote was, what lies behind and in front of you pales in comparison to what lies within you. What lies behind and in front of you pales in comparison to what lies within you. Such a lovely thought. So what lies behind you is done. What lies ahead of you hasn't happened yet. You're in this moment, in this present, wonderful, transcendent moment. And for some reason, you're just not feeling it. You're just having one of those days. This happened to me recently. I found myself circling around in an old habit, an old kind of limiting thought. Because we're all works in progress. You know, we've all read the books. We've all done the workshops. We've all listened to a million wonderful people speak. You know, we've all spoken to each other, and yet we're still, you know, a work in progress, a beautiful, transcendent work in progress. And, you make these shifts and then you realize you haven't completely shifted because that thought's coming up again. So for me, it was, I recently turned 70. Woohoo, made it that far. And so I wanted it to be a day that I enjoyed. So I arranged to sing at this jazz jam as the special guest. And I threw it up on Facebook and sent out some emails thinking, oh, I'm turning 70, all my friends will come. Well, they didn't. And I was like, how could they not come? It's like and I got into this whole spiral of like, oh, it's so hard. I just got into town the day before. I didn't have time to like talk to people, and like, and I'm gonna be by myself on this big birthday, and it's like, woe is me, like it's like the end of the world, like, like I'm healthy, happy, fed, safe. But and I spiraled into this thing and I started feeling so fragile. And I started thinking, oh, this is an old thought that I used to have. Life is so hard. I have to do everything myself, and it's just so hard sometimes and I don't want to. Well, it's ridiculous. I could have called a girlfriend and said, hey, it's my 70th birthday and I really want a bunch of people there. Will you help me just get a bunch of people there? And she would have been glad to do that. Duh. I was kind of hoping my husband would help me, but then it turned out he had an abscess tooth and he was in a lot of pain and he was having a really, really bad time of it. And he also had just turned 70, like the day before. So it was like, yeah, we were going to go out to dinner and it was like, and suddenly I'm standing there in the middle of the afternoon going, okay, now what? And a couple of my friends who were there just said, come on, let's go. We had a lovely, personal dinner with people that I don't normally get to speak with. And it all turned out to be just fine. But I had that lingering old feeling. And I thought, why am I circling around this feeling? I mean, I do all these talks, I do all this reading, I do all this work. Why am I not perfect? Why don't I have it all figured out? Why am I not enlightened? What's going on? And it's like, oh, okay, well, those little triggers, are still there. I thought, okay, it's a matter of perspective. So what I need to do is open up to new possibilities. So I started thinking, okay, well, maybe I need to go to some other jam sessions and meet some different people. Maybe I need to get my own gigs, that's not just singing 4 songs at somebody else's gig, but I need to like book a night, and where would I do that? So I reached out and maybe I need to go to a different yoga class. So while I was thinking that, a friend of my husband's came by. He's a part of the synth club in the electronica world. And it's a lot of many different age, many different walks of lives, engineers and sort of computer nerd people. And a lot of them are young guys. And he invited a couple of them over to jam with him. So I was talking to this young guy and he saw my harp and he said, oh, that would be so great. I go to this yoga class where they play music. And he started telling me about this yoga class where they have a sound bath and there's music played through the whole thing. And I thought, ooh, that'd be fun to play harp for that, because I've been bringing my harp to some of my yoga classes and playing for the restorative classes. So I went. I just decided to go. So I was, twice as old and, never met any of these people before, and it made no difference. It was a beautiful experience. The musician was amazing. His name is Elon Dahara. And he played like almost classical guitar, even though it was amplified, and was on the slow parts, you were listening, and on the fast parts, like the flowy parts, you were dancing. And then at the end, they were blowing different herbs over you, and there was singing bowls, and it was a whole completely different experience than any yoga class that I've been in. And it was wonderful. It's at a place called Mandela Springs, and they meet on Thursday. They also make chocolate, so they got it going on. Right. And so I thought, oh, wow, I'm opening myself up to new possibilities. I'm just going to go. And then I went with the idea of like maybe seeing what it was like and maybe offering to play harp. But then it turned out that the teachers, she's taking off for 2 weeks. She needs someone to hold the space. Would I like to teach class there? Would I like? So now suddenly I'm involved with like Mandela Springs and all these young people who are called landmates instead of roommates because they live in like yurts and little cabins on this land they own together. So cool, right? So we're all of an age that we've lived through the hippie years, right? And it was like walking right back into it. It was so fun. And suddenly, like a couple of days later in this week, my whole perspective has shifted. And even though I went and did all of these things alone, right, I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel like it was too hard. I didn't feel like I had to do this or that. And what changed? Nothing really. What changed was I opened myself up to possibilities and took some action, and my perspective changed. So the getting back to Reverend Kathy Ann Lewis, her second guide was there's a law of compensation. What goes around comes around. Kind of like the love you give is equal to the love you receive. Karmic retribution, however you want to look at it. This idea of you have to put it out there. If you want to feel something, you have to give something. And that something could simply be showing up. And the other thing she said is what you focus on increases, and not necessarily the law of attraction, but as human beings, we're actually trained to be pessimists. We're trained to see problems because that's how we learn to survive. However, that's the evolution of the species, and we are still evolving. So we no longer need to just look for problems just so we can survive. So now we can focus on other things that we want in our life, and not just to attract them, but also to keep them. So not just to think of them once, like I'm going to think of a loving mate and that person's going to show up. Maybe they will. But to think of giving love and being in a loving relationship all the time. So maybe they'll stick around this time. You know? And another inspirational thing that I came across, which I absolutely love, is you know, Bette Midler is known as the divine Bette Midler, right? So she was talking about being divine. She said, I've been saying I'm divine for years. She said, but if you walk around saying you're divine, people think you're nuts. You know, if you know, she said, I've known I'm divine. I'm a child of God. I am full of love. I am that kind of divinity, not that I'm like the coolest thing on the, you know, gay bath circuit in New York City, which she was. Yep. That was like her beginning, but that she's a divine creature. Like she was saying that. She says, but if you say it like that and you say it seriously, people think you're crazy. If you say it as a joke or as theater, you know, the perspective changes. So that's how she ended up being the divine Miss M. Don't you love that? Yes. I love that so much. And one other thing I want to leave you with is last night was a Hindu holiday called Mahashivaratri. And it's a night of awakening when the Shava or corpse-like nature of your soul is awakened to the Shiva, which is goddess of destruction and creation within in your. So it's like awakening your consciousness. So I would like to do a short meditation with you on this idea of getting in touch with an awakening of consciousness and just remembering to just shift your perspective. during the day, during your daily day. It doesn't mean your life is going to be any different physically. It just means how you look at what you're doing might shift. And it might, who knows, change what you do or how you show up. It might make you open to new possibilities and go to Mandela Springs one night. You know, it might make you, I don't know, take a drive and camp out for a month somewhere by the river, you know. I mean, it might, you know, it might take you to all sorts of things. It might take you to, who knows. Anyway, what I'd like you to do, what I'd like to introduce you to is one of Savitri. She's one of the co-founders of Purna Yoga, the yoga I teach, which is it's like an extension of Iyengar yoga with a lot of meditation, basically. And she has these dynamic meditation techniques that she calls meditation snacks. And they involve moving your hands as well as going within. So I want to introduce you to Inner Journey. So if you're comfortable to close your eyes, if you're not, just have a soft focus on the ground in front of you and bring the third finger of your right hand to your third eye. So it's a little higher than where your eyebrows are. There's a little divot in your forehead there. And just gently massage that place. And then use the feeling of your finger on your skin to stay in this present moment. And you're going to slowly, very slowly now, without breaking connection, just bring your finger down your face, down your nose, down in a line to your heart center. Slow, really slow, just focusing on the feeling of your finger on your face, your lips. And when you get to your heart center, keep it there. Training the mind to focus on the heart. And take your time. And maybe when you get to your heart center, maybe you'll massage a little your heart center. And after you've done it once, bring your hand back up and do it again. And while you're focusing on the feeling of your finger on your skin, I am willing to be inspired by possibilities of freedom, inspired by possibility of expansion. And this time when you get to your heart center, just leave your finger there. Remind me of my own inner strength. Remind me of my own infinite divine resources. And lead me step by step from the seeming confines of this human condition. On this great night or day of awakening, dissolution, and insight. As I rise from the corpse-like Shava state to a Shiva-like state of consciousness. And then very slowly let your hand drop to your lap and open your eyes. It's never too late to discover new parts of yourself, to revisit those places where we get stuck. A musician friend said, sometimes we have to wait till our courage catches up to our passion. Or sometimes your perspective just has to shift, so you allow it. Because in truth, anything is possible. Even me learning these chords. What's your dream? It sometimes seems impossible. Let the voice tell you it's improbable. Hold on to what you love. Hold on to what you dream of, and you will be unstoppable. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Believe. Believe. Thank you.
Could you name the person that the meditation was done by? They missed it online.
Oh, her name is Savitri, and she's a part of Purna Yoga 828. She's at the Alive and Shine Center in Bellevue, Washington. So she and Adil Palkilvala are the two people that started Purna Yoga. Adil was a protege of Mr. Iyengar, studied with him all his life. Savitri is his wife, and they just kept the teachings of Mr. Iyengar going and added more meditation and a kinder type of yoga with the same alignment principles, which is what they're a part of.